Hi good people, Titus here for part 3 of our Qbert mini-series, and in this video we'll work on creating the block platforms that we can build out into our first level. Alright, let's go ahead and hop right into it. Alright, so starting off we're going to do 2 new folders. First one we're going to do is going to be our levels folder, and then the second one is going to be a materials folder. And then we're going to go to File, and we're going to do a new level. We're going to choose Empty Level, and then hit Create. And we can go to File, Save Current Level As, and inside our Levels folder, we'll just simply call this Level 1. Alright, so to light the level, we can come into our engine content. If you don't have this folder showing, just come into Settings, and then make sure Show Engine Content is checked. And then in the search bar, you can just run a quick search for BP Sky, drag that into the scene, and then I'm going to reset the position to 0, 0, and then maybe 200 on the Z-axis. With the sky sphere selected, you'll have access to the settings panel. We're going to lower the sun height to -1, and then that way we can see the sky. We can come to the star brightness, and we can set that to 1. Cloud opacity we can also set to 1. And then the cloud speed we can probably set to 10. So we get a little bit of a interesting scene here. Now because it's the night sky, I think it'd be appropriate if we maybe create a moon. So we can come into the add option here, and let's do a basic shape, do a sphere. And I am going to place the sphere at -3000 on the X, -4000 on the Y, and then I'm going to go to 1500 on the Z, and then I'm going to scale this to 15. And I think that looks about right. I want to give it a moon texture, so I can actually come into my materials folder, and then I just downloaded a simple moon image from Google, and then we can right click and create a material off that called m_moon, and then with that selected we can just hit the little arrow, load it in, and then suddenly you have a moon in your scene. If the moon's a little dim, you can actually go into the material, and what we can do is set it from a opaque to a translucent texture, and then you can come into a multiply node, so hold M and click into the graph, and then you can hold S and click into the graph and grab a scalar, and maybe just call it power, and then hook this into here, this into here, and then we'll hook this in the emissive color, and we will disconnect the base color. And then for the brightness or the power, I'm going to maybe just set it to a 5, and then hit save. Now we have a lit moon. That looks pretty good. So let's work on creating the actual blocks so we can build out that classic Qbert map. So let's go into our blueprints folder and right click, create a new blueprint class. We'll do of type actor. We'll call it BP_platform or cube, or kind of whatever you want to call it. Inside my Blender folder, I need to import a static mesh. You can use a basic cube if you want. The reason I did it in Blender is I wanted to have multiple material slots on my cube, so I can maybe create a little bit of an accent piece. And also when Qbert jumps on the cubes, he flips the colors, so I just wanted to flip the top part of the cube and not the entirety of the cube. But you honestly could do it either way, doesn't really matter. So I have a block mesh here. Can drag that in and then just hit import all, and then I'm going to open up my blueprint for my platform, press Control Spacebar, bring up my Blender folder. I'm going to select my static mesh so it's highlighted, then I'm going to go hit add and then choose static mesh like so. Now I did make a mistake when I made this cube in Blender. I think you'll notice if I hover over it, you can see the size is 200 by 200 by 200. If you remember in the first video, I think it was, where we were doing the movement, I was trying to set everything up to where it's going to be 100 Blender, or sorry, 100 Unreal Engine units. So we can't use a 200, it's too big. So we're gonna have to scale this down by half. So I'm just gonna go to the scale, hit 0.5, and then that'll just reduce the size across the cube, and that's what I need. Now what I can do as well is I need a way to detect collision. So when Qbert jumps on the platform, I need it to be able to basically see that that happened and then run some code because of it. So we can hit the add button in the component section, search for box collision, and I'm just going to call it a box trigger, something simple. And then I'm going to drag it up. It's a little big. I'm just going to hit R and scale on the Z axis, then hit W, bring it down, so it's something like that, and I think that looks perfectly fine. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to run some code, but before we do that, let's set up the accent piece here. So I'm going to come back to my map, and under materials, I'm going to create a new material, call it m_ebase for emission base. And then I'm going to switch the opaque mode to translucent. I'm going to hit 3, click into the graph. I'm going to hit S, click into the graph. I'm going to call this power. I'm going to right click on this, convert it to a parameter, and call it color. I'm then going to come into a multiply node, so hit M, click into the graph. Pick these two up here. And emissive color. And for the default value, I'm going to set it to 5. And then I'm going to save that. And then close it. Now what I can do is, in my materials folder, I can right click on that ebase and do a material instance. I'm just going to call it mi red. And then I can open that up, check my power and color. And I'm going to use like a red orangey color. Something like that. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on my emission base, do a new material instance, and I'm going to do mi_blue, and I'll check color and power. I'm going to set the color to, or the power to like 100, and I'm just going to use like a blue, like a light blue or something. Something like that. Save that. And then I can come back to my platform, and if I select the actual static mesh, under this emission element, I'm going to just search for my blue. So that way I have a nice little accent on my cube when I build it out. And then when Qbert jumps on the top piece, we're just going to switch the element 1 color from purple to maybe this red, or something like that. So just like a visual indicator to the player that the tile has been flipped. But real quick, let's actually build out the level so we can actually see what this looks like. So I'm going to drag that blueprint into the scene, and I'm going to reset its location to 0 across the X, Y, and Z. So it's the center of the map. And then to make my life a little bit easier, I'm going to use snapping. Remember, I'm doing everything in 100 units, so I'm just going to switch it to 100 units like so. And then I can just simply hold the Alt key and drag down to duplicate that. And then I can hold Alt, drag one there, and then I won't hold Alt, I'll just drag this one out this way. That way you can see the back is empty, like so. But now I can hold Shift, click these two, then hold Alt, drag this down, and then I can keep them highlighted, shift them over, then just select this one, hold Alt, drag it back, let go, line it up in position like so, and then I'm just basically gonna repeat this basic shape until I get to, I think, 7 rows. Somewhere around there. And oops, do that there. Hold Alt, drag this out, and I think what might be helpful Let me see if I can switch on my overlay. Hopefully that works. All right. Hold this and Alt. Oh, it doesn't even have an Alt key, so that's probably not going to help. All right, let me get rid of that. All right, and I'm just going to shift this over like so. Select the last one. I'm going to hold Alt, push one back, and then just drag it out. Like so. So now we have 5. I'm going to hold Shift and just select this bottom row. Hold Alt, drag this row down. Then I'm going to drag it over, click on the last one, duplicate it in the back, and then just position it. It gives me 6. I'll shift select the bottom row, hold Alt, duplicate that entire row down, and then I'm just going to grab it and shift it to the side, and then I'm going to hold Alt and duplicate one in the back and just reposition it. And now you can see our cubes look kind of like that. Now I need to make Qbert spawn, and I need to control where he spawns. So we're gonna set him on the top of the cube or the pyramid starting off. We'll move him into a different spot in a later video, but I think for now this will be okay. So go to basics, we'll do a player start, and we'll try that right there. And I'm actually going to hold control and go to top view and just make sure it's kind of lined up right in the middle, because that is important when you want to make sure he's exactly 100 units in, so because his jumps aren't going to shift at all. So you want to make sure you position him properly starting off, otherwise his jumps are going to be off a little bit. I'll hold control, go back to perspective view, and that looks pretty okay. It's just not lit right now, so we'll take care of that in a second. Let's just finish up the simple code to get the tiles to flip though, so you can at least see what it looks like. We'll go back into the platform. Under the event graph, we do not need tick, and I don't think I'm going to be using begin play for a bit here. We need one variable, starting off anyways, and that is a is flipped Boolean check. And that's basically when Qbert jumps on it, he's going to change the color. If he jumps on it again, you don't want to mess with the color or mess with anything, so you only want to execute if the cube is not flipped. But essentially what we're going to do is drag off the begin overlap. We'll do a simple cast to VP Qbert. Plug in the other actor to the object input. We'll need a branch node, so hold B, click in the graph. On a true cast to Qbert, we will check if the Boolean is flipped is not true. So if the tile is not flipped, then what we want to do is we want to get a reference to our cube, and then we want to flip it. So we're going to set the material. And if you remember, the element index was 1. We can see that if we select the cube. Element 0 is this green color. Element 1 is the purple color, which is the top. So we're going to go element 1. And then we're going to set the material to mi underscore, I think red it was. And then we are going to set is flipped to true. Now, if we hit play, we can see Qbert is able to jump around the map and set the tiles. But it looks like our camera is a little bit off, so I probably got the placement wrong for that, so we can update that. We'll just come back into Qbert, and under the viewport, we're controlling that with the spring arm. And I am going to try, instead on the rotation, I'm going to change the Y to maybe 350 so it's not so tall. We can get maybe some of that moon. And in the Z axis, I'm going to try maybe a 220 to shift it a little bit to his left. And then let's try that out. That looks a little bit better. Now we can see Qbert kind of coming down, and you should be able to flip your tiles as you'd expect, like the classic Qbert game. But it's a little bit dark, we can't see Qbert and we can't see anything, so let's fix that real quick. So we can come to the level, and if we simply add a light, we can do a directional light, and then I'm going to set that to 0, 0, 250, and then I'm going to hold with it active, click into the window so you can move around, and press Ctrl-Alt-L, and then just kind of position it where it makes the most sense. It's probably maybe right around there a little bit. And then with it selected, I'm going to come down and maybe set it to a 1 so it's not so bright. And now we have a basic setup. So we got our map built, we got our tiles set up, and we have a way to jump on the tiles and flip the colors. So I think that's a pretty good start. So, alright everyone, I think we'll cut it here, and in the next video we'll tackle creating some of the various widgets for our Qbert game, including the heads-up display and the win-loss screens. But as always, thanks for watching, consider subscribing, and see you on the next one.